Hey, everybody, I'm Ken, and I'm coming with you with Dave and Keith and Ian from White Mountain Approved. And if you're looking for gear reviews, you've come to the right place. The four of us have logged in over 20 years of experience in hiking in the wilds of the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And the gear that we use, we talk about, and we've experienced its good, bad, and ugly. And we're going to share that with you on these programs. And so we're going to start off because we do a lot of hiking together as a group. If you've read any of the two books that I've written, these are the casts of characters that are in both of those books. And we've done some recent hikes and a hike coming up. And so recently, Dave and Ian and I hiked Mount Pemigewasset. And Dave, that was your first time up Pemigewasset. What was your impressions?
Yeah, it was my first time, and it was just last week. The trail was snowy, a little bit of ice, so we had to use our spikes. It was a nice gradual trail, and the views certainly paid off. I've never been to that peak, and looking south down towards 93 and then west over towards Moosilauke, the views were great. It was actually a really nice day. And then on the back side of the peak, looking over towards the Franconia Ridge, there were a couple of views over there, and those were really nice as well.
Yeah. Ian, any thoughts?
No, it was really nice shot of the flume slide too from there that you don't normally get.
Yeah. It's a great little peak and it's an easy hike. So any of you hikers out there that are relatively new to hiking, I would definitely recommend it as probably one of the first ones you should try because it is pretty easy and yet it rewards with great views. And then just a few days ago, Ian and his wife Caroline and I hiked Mount Pierce. And Ian, what are some of your thoughts about that hike?
Oh, you couldn't have asked for a better day. We got up, we broke tree line. My anemometer read 4 miles an hour on wind. It was about 26 degrees out. Sun was shining. The trail was perfect. All the roots and rocks were covered up. It was perfect.
Yeah, that was
I kind of wish we went over to Eisenhower and made a little better time. But in the future, I kind of want to go up Edmund's Path over to Eisenhower.
Yeah, that's a different trail entirely.
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah. That's the first hike I think I've ever done that it was colder at the base than it was at the summit. We started off at about 5 above, and then when we get to the summit, it was like 25 above. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, and then the three of you guys are getting ready to hike tomorrow, I guess. And Keith, what about that hike? I guess it has something to do with your over 70 patch.
Yes, I'm looking forward to doing that hike tomorrow to check off another off the list. I've currently done 15 of the 48 over the age of 70, and this will make number 16. It's not an overly difficult hike for the most part. It's kind of cool when you get about halfway up. You're right next to the ski slope in Waterville Valley. I don't know how people can ski down there, but they do. So if you're going up this mountain for a view, you're going to be kind of disappointed because there's only really one spot you can peek out and you can see the parking lot down at the ski area. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good hike. The trails should be nice because the snow on them cover the roots and it might be a little icy, but we've got spikes for that. So it should be great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is Tecumseh, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Ian and Dave, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? What's up?
Dang, Keith, I thought you had more than 16 for over 70 already.
Yeah.
No, I've only got 15.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a sheet of ice, but tomorrow's the nicest looking day it looks like so far for this week.
Yeah, the last time, what I'm looking forward to, I haven't hiked this mountain since 2007, so it's been a while. This was one of the first few that I did, and I did it in May, and there was actually a little bit of a monorail at the time, and it was kind of an ugly hike. It was warm. We were wearing shorts, but we were post-holing in the monorail, and it was not too enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to getting up there and seeing the conditions in winter. So
nice.
Awesome. That's great. Well, do you guys think that hike will be fun without me going?
It's
funner.
Yeah, fun. That's a good way to describe it.
Funner.
It'll certainly be absent a lot of whining, which is going to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
We'll have to slow down for small lung syndrome.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward for you guys to summit that in like about 40 minutes. Slowing you down. So I'm looking to hear some good reports back from that. So that's great. We'll take some pics and stay healthy and stay safe out there. So one of the things we wanted to do, because we do gear reviews, is we were kind of kicking around the idea of something, silly and fun about talking about a gear review of an item that we hike with or use regularly that is like around $10 or under. So, Dave, why don't we start with you? What do you got?
Well, I'm gonna break the rule right out of the gate, and I haven't hiked with this yet. I'm looking forward to hiking with it, and I believe it's a little bit more than $10, but it's a new hat from a New Hampshire company that I received as a gift. It's made by Minus 33, and this is a merino wool hat. It's a beanie cap. I'm really looking forward to it. It feels lightweight, but yet warm, and it's hard to put over my headphones here, but definitely looking forward to trying it out. As you can see, and I'll get a little closer, it's made by Minus 33. It's merino wool. It's like I said, it feels like a really good weight, not too heavy, but not too light. So I'm looking forward to giving it a try.
Nice. Yeah, I know when you put it on, it really helped dress up that point on the top of your head.
Thanks.
Can I make a comment on that, Dave?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have one of those hats also, and I went out 2 days ago jogging at 21 degrees.
Yeah.
With no breeze, but after about a mile in, things started warming up. But that hat actually does great for wicking off moisture.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty good, and it's really light. I have another cap similar to that, but it's heavier. It doesn't wick. This is a good little gift.
Nice.
Yeah, no, Keith, I know somebody that knows you, and I think they would like to challenge your definition of jogging because they've seen you out on the road. So.
I jog. I don't run.
Yeah, well, even that's debatable. But Ian, what about you? What do you got going?
For me, it's definitely my pack towel. I don't have one here, but you can get them. REI brand has them. EMS brand has them. They're like $7 or $8. They're only maybe 18 inches square. In the summer, it's nice to get to the summit, dry your face off. I know I sweat a lot. Same thing in the winter. It's nice to get to the summit, be able to dry your hair off, put your hat on. Definitely a pack towel is my number one piece of gear under $10. Bring them home, throw them in the washer, get them back in your bag, ready to go. It clicks with a carabiner right onto your shoulder strap. I never go hiking without it anymore.
Those are those little ones that like go in they're part of like a little stuff sack, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think you gifted me one of those, and
I did.
I have it on my backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So that's cool. Like Dave, you're talking about a hat, and Ian, you're talking about a towel, and I want to talk about my spork because when we do an overnighter and we bring our stoves and some meals and everything, these sporks are fascinating. The person who created this was either a genius or a glutton. But I mean, it's got the spoon on one side, it's got the fork on the other side, and then this part is actually serrated if you have to cut through like a tough piece of, spaghetti or whatever you're eating that night. So, yeah, I mean, this is what I use. I get my Mountain House meals going, and then this is what I eat my Mountain House meals with. And I also now have a thermos that I think Ian and I were talking about this on Pierce about bringing like a soup or a hot meal in these thermoses, and I'll definitely bring my spork for that as well.
Baked beans.
I mean, yeah, gas things up, and so yeah, really cool. Keith, how about you? You got anything like under $10 that you hike with?
Yeah, I got something as a gift recently, but I've used them before, and it's a thermometer that you can hang off your pack. Shows you the temperature. If you're ever curious about that when you're hiking, I know lots of times we say, I wonder how cold it is.
Keith, can you move it over?
The wind speed.
Yeah, bring it over to the other side so we can see.
Bring it center mass. We can't see it there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
There it is.
LL Bean. Yeah, great product.
Yeah. Made by LL Bean. It's under $10. And on the back side, there is a chill factor chart. If you happen to know what the temperature, the wind speed is. So you can help control clothes you're going to wear, and whether or not you can safe to take clothes off if you're getting warm. Handy little item.
Cool.
Nice.
What do you other guys? What do you use to tell the temperature? How do you tell the temperature out there on these winter hikes up in the Whites?
I bought a little animator off Amazon for $20. So it'll give me the wind speed and it'll give me the air temp.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool purchase too.
Yeah. And
So-
Dave, what about you? I think you just go by your toughness meter, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And in order to keep that fine-tuned, what I do is I check the higher summits forecast just to see what the temperature is, what the prediction is for the temperature.
Right. Yeah. Well, kind of like that experience we had on top of Jackson that day, right? That was a cold hike.
PK, one thing I always bring, and you guys know this, is I make sure I have plenty of hand warmers in the event that it does dip a little bit colder than I may be used to.
Yeah. Newsflash on the hand warmers and toe warmers, because I use a lot of those too. They, how would you say, they expire over time.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of hand warmers and toe warmers that I used on Mount Pierce, and they weren't really throwing off any heat at all. So I might take all my old supply that's a couple years old and just ditch them and go out and buy new stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, because they really do help. I mean, the hand warmers and toe warmers are really, really important.
Yeah. You know, one thing
ahead.
I'd like to talk about when it comes to hand warmers is, and you mentioned our trip up to Jackson, which was last year. I believe it was in January. And the lesson I learned that day is it was certainly cold. I believe when we started, it was below zero. But I didn't tear a pack of hand warmers open. When we got to the summit, I decided to take my camera out with my bare hand. I pulled it out of my mitten and I took some video. And by the time, it was like literally like a 10-second video. By the time I went to put my hand back in the mitten, I couldn't get it back in. And I didn't have a hand warmer available to clench it and get my hand warm so that I could manipulate the mitten to get it in. So that certainly for me was eye-opening as to just how cold it gets.
Yeah, and that's that brings up a good point, because if you couldn't use your hands to get a hand warmer, where did you get a hand warmer from?
Yeah, well, fortunately, my buddy was there and he was able to give me one, so I was able to warm up my hand and get it back into the mitten.
That's awesome. That's good. Well, that sounds like a really good buddy.
That's surprising that Dave didn't have any. Usually half the weight of his pack is a hand of foot warmers.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So as we wind down here, I'm not exactly sure where we are in time wise, but Keith, you're the oldest member of our group, and what would you recommend are some things that you learned, age specific, that you would want to pass on to maybe somebody else that's as old as dirt that's thinking on getting into hiking?
Well, I think the first thing we should think about, if you're not a normally active person, is are you healthy enough to hike? I wouldn't get off the couch and say I'm going to go do a 4,000 footer, because if you do, you're not going to make it. You're going to have a miserable time and probably never hike again. Check with your doctor first and make sure you don't have any underlying issues that could prevent you from taking the strain of doing one of these hikes. Then, if you're not a normal exerciser, start walking. I'd start out slow, then gradually add hills in, and then when you start feeling good about that, go on some small hikes. Pick something like 1,900 feet or something like that, and just to get used to it. And eventually you can work into the higher peaks. Now, I was 68 when I first started hiking seriously, and I started hiking in Tuckaway State Park. And they've got some 900,000 foot trails in there, peaks you can hike, plus a lot of flat trails. And then we started doing Mount Major in Alton. And then from there, we just started doing bigger and higher peaks. But secondly, I would say, make sure you have the appropriate footwear. If your feet are sore, you're not going to have a good time. I don't care what kind of condition you are in. And I'm saying that from experience. I have an odd foot. I have a hard time finding a shoe that fits me correctly. I spent a lot of money on good shoes and it didn't work. So I finally found a pair of Keens that worked really well for me. They're not pricey. You might have to replace them every couple of years, but I would take the comfort and spend $130 to replace them every once in a while. And from there, just make sure you have the appropriate items in your pack. Now, you can go online and you can find a list of the 10 essentials that you should need, and don't overpack. People put stuff in the packs they think they need, and and find out they don't. Like, 500 hand warmers or something like that in your pack. But those are the first few things I could recommend if you're an older person and want to start hiking. And I would say never go alone. Unless you know you're going on a short hike, you're not going to get in any serious trouble. But have a buddy, and above all means, make sure people know where you're going. But those are a few important items I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's great wisdom, especially I really like the part about the boots and how little things like that can determine whether you enjoy or not enjoy. And like Dave, and we were just talking about the hand warmers and toe warmers. I mean, if you slip a couple of packs of toe warmers in your feet and it's the difference between a comfortable hike and a miserable hike, it's worth the $5 to do that. So that's pretty good. And I think I just want to kick that around a little bit. Dave, Ian, what have you guys found out about like the importance of footwear for you?
Boy. So I'll jump in. I know Ian's got ready to jump in as well. I've gone through a ton of different pairs of boots over the years. I've used lightweight boots. I've used heavyweight boots, and the difference between short hikes and backpacking, and the support that the different boots offer. And it really, I can't agree more with Keith. If that's literally where the rubber meets the road. So if you're not comfortable in what's touching the ground, it's going to be a miserable hike. And you've got to break them in, get them ready to hike the long distances. And going uphill is different than walking in your neighborhood. And another thing for me is, especially with the comfort of a boot, not only is it going up, but coming down. And recently, the reason why I say that is I had a pair of boots. They were a Solos, and they were the 520. I think they're GS 520 Evos. Very nice, comfortable pair of boots. A little on the heavy side. They offer a ton of support, which I really liked, which is why I got them. But as I broke them in, and the more I continued to wear them, I began to notice that going down, especially on the steeps, my toes were jamming up against the front of the boots, causing me a lot of issues. So by the time I would go down and descend, and I hit those flats, my feet were junk. They were killing me. So ultimately, I had to switch out. And the pair I have now is better for that. They're Hanwags. They're great boots. They're an all-weather boot. They're not super light, but they're not super heavy. They're sort of in the middle. But what I really like about them is they're durable. They offer a ton of support. But on the way down, my toes aren't jamming in that on the tops of those, and so my feet aren't getting as sore as they used to.
Yeah, those are all great points. And you have a more difficult time in selecting boots because, I mean, not only you look for durability and traction, but you're also very fashion conscious, right? So
yeah. So that's a good point.
It takes a little bit longer to pick just the right. Yeah. Ian, what about you? What have you learned about footwear?
I'd say boots are probably one of the most important things, and anyone who's watching this and hikes knows that they're not cheap. So go put your feet in some boots. Go to REI, go to Dick's, go to wherever you have to try on as many boots as you can. You can watch reviews, you can listen to other people, but it's not your foot. It's not necessarily going to work for your foot. You got to find something comfortable, and you got to know that it works. REI actually has a cool little carpeted slope that you can go and try on boots and walk up and down it and test them out. While we're talking about testing things out too, backpacks, same thing. Everyone's different. Everyone's going to have different sized torsos. Don't just read a review and say you like the backpack. Go actually try some on. Yeah. Again, REI is great at helping you get fitted out, and EMS, they'll actually load them up with sandbags too, so you can see how they'll feel weighted. But you got to try the shoes on, and you got to get your foot in them before you can really settle on them and make that commitment to a couple $100 boot that you're just going to wear for a day and not be comfortable enough to get rid of.
Yeah.
Ian, what's your current brand that you're hiking in right now? I know you've switched around a little bit.
The Salomon Quests. They're good for me because I have a wider forefoot and a smaller heel, and they fit that form perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just another comment on the boots is I didn't mention the brand that I have, but I actually have the Keen Moab 2s, and I have a wide foot, but they just fit me great. It felt like a slipper, and it gave me the support I need. They're lightweight, they're waterproof. For about $130.
Great. Yeah, and for all you viewers out there, honestly, if you can't find the perfect boot, you can do what I've seen a lot of hikers doing. You can just go in flip-flops or sandals or clog.
Barefoot.
Barefoot.
Yeah, we've seen a lot in there. Dave, how are we doing on time?
We still got a little bit of time.
Okay, great. So I want to switch over to Ian. Ian, you're the youngest member in our group at 16. And what would you recommend for like a younger crowd, let's say even teenagers that are thinking about getting into hiking? What would you, I think footwear and the backpack itself is all important, but what else would you recommend to some of our younger audience?
I'd say start small. It is a financial commitment if you want to get going. See if there's anyone that that you can borrow stuff from. I'm sure there's someone you can borrow old ski poles from or trekking poles, borrow a backpack from. Understand if you're really going to like it and really going to enjoy it before you dive in and spend a ton of money on stuff, because it's really easy to spend a lot of money on hiking gear. And one thing you're going to realize too is you're going to refine your system over and over and over, and you're going to have a basement full of gear that once you thought was the greatest thing ever, and now it's useless and it just collects dust. So go slow, figure out what works for you, and you'll enjoy it a lot more, and you'll spend a lot less money on it than you have to.
That's great. And they're free to contact Dave because he lets his stuff go out for anybody that wants to borrow it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
definitely.
Yeah. Keith, Dave, what are your thoughts on that? As far as we've run into a lot of younger hikers, both male and female. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I'll jump in. I know Keith's thinking on that one. We were just at the Mountain Wanderer in Lincoln, and the gentleman there that runs the Mountain Wanderer, he's also the author or co-author of the White Mountain Guide. And I can't stress enough the importance for anybody starting to get into hiking. Grab the guide, go through it, look at the trail that you're hiking, and consider that you're hiking a mountain. You're not hiking a trail and perhaps in your backyard. I know Ian mentioned the 10 essentials. You want to make sure that you have those, and consider dressing appropriately and having all the gear. But starting with that mountain guide, the White Mountain Guide, that's an essential.
Yeah, so true. And Ken McGray's 52 with a view guide
absolutely.
is another good one. Yep. Yeah, don't just blindly start hiking these trails. Definitely do some research. Great point there. Keith, how about you?
I would say pick your hiking partners carefully. Make sure you're matched up with them, because you may be more in better shape than someone, want to go faster, and somebody may slow you down. And so you could end up leaving a party behind. But I'd say try to match somebody up to your skills when you go. For a younger person. Older people, well, we're all slow.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, definitely. That's a good point. Yeah, make sure you get a good group of people that you're going with, and you're all fairly evenly matched, and you'll have a good time. Dave, for you, you've been hiking for a long time and you're very skilled at it. And what makes hiking enjoyable? Like what's the difference between a good hike and a bad hike? What happens there?
I don't know that I've ever really had a bad hike. To me, they're all good. Getting out there with friends, the hiking group that we have, all of us, when we go hiking, it's just a ball of fun. Sometimes it gets a little tedious planning it, just because we all have different perspectives of the weather. Especially the weather, catching a day with great views is what it's all about, and making sure that the weather is conducive for a good hike. But yeah, just getting out there. That feeling when you start up the mountain and you're breathing heavy and you're getting your rhythm. Then when you get up top and you see the views, it just makes it all worth it. But it's really the camaraderie and just getting out there, getting some great exercise and seeing the views.
Great. Now I know, like be honest, Dave, because I know there's a day out there that they call Hike Naked Day, and I think you've done that, haven't you? Karen's not listening to this, so come on, be honest.
So I actually haven't, but I have heard that Keith may have partaken in that.
You guys are shameless.
Oh,
Dave enjoys the Halloween hiking a little more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With the costumes, that's right. Costumes are important. Well, that is great. Any final thoughts from any one of you gents before we wind down this episode?
No, I say
Keith, right there. That's a perfect shot of you. What's that you're wearing right there? What's that T-shirt?
White Mountain Approved.
There you go.
It's an organization this group is trying to put together, and coming to you for the podcast on this. We have some gear.
Yeah.
We got hats and we got shirts.
Yep. I'm also wearing another White Mountain approved moose mascot. Got a mountain range in the background. It's a 603 Live Free or Die. So if you're interested in looking at some gear, check us out. We're going to be starting to sell more apparel and gear and things like that, stickers and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, cool.
Hey, PK, before we, that brings up a good point before we end for the night. Do you want to mention your books, where folks can get them and what they're about?
Sure. So the first book is called They Said It Would Be Fun, and it's a humorous book about my journeying doing the 48 4,000 footers of New Hampshire. It is on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. It will be soon at a bookstore in Littleton. I don't even remember the name of the bookstore. And it's also going to be at the Mountain Wanderer as soon as I can bring some copies up to the Steve up there. And then people wanted me to do it on the 52 of the View. So my second book was called They Said They Wanted More. And again, that's a humorous and scientific book on hiking the 52 of the View. And so the cast of characters are, who you see right now in this episode. Most of the hiking is done by myself and Dave and Keith and Ian. And sometimes it's only two of us. Sometimes it's three. Sometimes it's four. But the antics are, I think most people who hike would relate to the antics that go on and the fun and the, busting on one another and this kind of stuff. But it's basically just typical White Mountain hiking. And the books are doing really, really well, by the way. And all the profits of the book goes to support search and rescue in New Hampshire. And so that's like the real purpose of the books, because those people are our heroes. And so that's a good selling point for the books. It goes to support New Hampshire search and rescue.
That's great.
All right. If there's no other last minute comments, I guess we can sign out, Dave.
Great. The only comment I would make is please feel free to subscribe. I will be doing more videos in the future, and you'll be able to keep up with them.
See you on the trail, folks.
Take care.